Hey, what's good, everyone? It's me, Aquas, and I'm here going to be hosting Awesome Game Replays episode 28. And this time, we're looking at a bit more of a popular game. We'll call it popular. It's BattleBlock Theater. It was released in 2013 by the Behemoth on the Xbox 360 Live Arcade, and eventually went to Steam and on Mac and Linux and all that. And this is something of a game that's described as a comedy platformer because of the funny voice acting and that type of stuff. But on this episode, we're going to be checking out the world record speedrun of the no level skips any percent category. And that's going to include every level of the game, thus no level skips. And GameguySD, who is joining us as a guest, has performed that run for us, and we'll be enjoying watching that run and talking about BattleBlock Theater and kind of what's going on in this game and why it's awesome as well. So what's up, Game Guy?
Hey, glad to be here. Hopefully we'll shed some light on this.
Should be good, and we're also joined by TheMibulous, another speedrunner of BattleBlock Theater. So welcome, TheMibulous.
Thank you very much for having me. Great to be here.
So why don't you guys talk about a little bit about how you started, how you just got into BattleBlock Theater, and what enticed you to it, and then what got you into speedrunning it too. You can gloss over any of that if you want. I'll let Game Guy start.
All right, cool. I started playing on console probably over 5 years ago now at this point. Originally, my brother actually downloaded this for the Games for Gold sale because it was on for free for a little while. And at the time, I didn't have gold membership, so I couldn't play any of the co-op stuff. So I ended up playing it through the main campaign by myself, and I think I took like 6 months off or so. And I started getting back into the game when I did get a live membership and started like really appreciating the game mechanics more, like through playing community theater levels and stuff. That's where I like really got my first deep understanding of how the game functioned. How about you?
Community levels, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also got into it by playing the console version when it came out with Games with Gold. I downloaded it for free. I played through it then, and it was fun. I'd never really been big into platformers beforehand, but it was just so much fun to control, and I just ended up really enjoying it. So I kept going through, and at some point I started off speedrunning by getting into Halo 3 speedrunning, and so I was looking just for some other speed game, and BattleBlock Theater has a lot less RNG than Halo 3 does, so I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great to know it was my fault for being
that fucking RNG, man.
Absolutely.
Just sick of it. That makes me want to ask Game Guy, was this your first speedrun, or had you had a history in speedrunning yourself before this game?
Funny enough, I've actually always been like an individual level speedrunner. Like I've always specialized in ILs. I think my earliest recording of a speedrun would be from 2006. Like I started doing like handheld ILs for the Game Boy, I think it was. Like in one of the Sonic Rush games. Like that's where I first really started to get into. Around like 2011 though, Super Meat Boy is like what really got me back into the speedrunning scene.
Did you say Game Boy?
Or was it? I think it was.
Sonic Rush?
Like one of the
I'm not familiar with that game actually.
Yeah, I know it was a handheld one.
Huh, okay. And then Meat Boy, okay, interesting. That's because that's how you must know Enox and stuff. We actually covered Super Meat Boy previous episode in any case. Well, I'm just guessing here.
Yeah, we met through the Enders Night community.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess the thing is, I mean, is the Behemoth? I mean, were they an indie? Are they considered an indie studio or like?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
So they've released other well-known games like Castle Crashers, the recent Pit People, way back Alien Hominid. I believe they got their early beginnings on Newgrounds.
Really? Okay, wow.
Yeah, I think it was back in the Newgrounds days.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they've been around for a while.
So it's like, it's a game by gamers for gamers, essentially. It's what you get there.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so cool to hear about all that. So we are going to be watching this world record speedrun for no level skips. So what kind of things do we need to know about BattleBlock Theater as far as the game mechanics go, the bare essential stuff, so we can understand what's going on in this speedrun?
I think the absolute biggest thing right out of the bat is that you have a fixed jump height. If you walk off a ledge, you still get your double jumps. And you have a fixed movement speed on regular ground. So as long as you hold the key, that's how many frames you're going to move. If you tap the jump key, doesn't matter how long you hold it for, you're going to do a jump input. That's a fixed height.
Gotcha. So pretty standard stuff there.
Yeah. Can you think of anything else, Bibbs?
That's about it. You've got sort of slides and stuff, but they're all same distance as well. As long as it's on regular ground. Ice is a little bit weird.
Oh, ice breaks a lot.
Yep, we'll get to that later.
I suppose, yeah, there's a lot of like different, I mean, I'm just looking right now, like there's like those explosive blocks, and there's like the cloudy blocks, and there's all the different like terrains and whatnot. I suppose...
Yeah, we should probably talk about those.
Yeah, ice is probably the single most broken thing in this game. I think that's safe to say.
Almost undoubtedly, I can't think of anything that even comes close.
Yeah, so the main weapon, I think it's easy to call the main weapon because it's the thing that most enhances your vertical mobility. It's called the force ball. Some people call it the electric ball. Some people call it the kaboom ball, as was coined by Final last week.
And everyone loves the name straight away, like no issues there.
Yeah, it just causes like an outwards acceleration from wherever it hits a wall. So if you use it in a corner, you're going to go really high, really fast. And there's also a really convenient thing that happens if you jump and then you use it a frame later against the wall, is that I think your jump height is about 34 frames. And there's one frame of leniency where you can get hit by the force ball at the end of a jump. So it's frame perfect that you'll actually get like a wall jump effect. And that's used a bit throughout the round. It's referred to an Omega boost. I think PJ Emeka coined that.
So,
yes.
Do you gain that item, or is that something you have the whole game?
All weapons that we use in the run are actually purchased through an in-game store called the Gift Shop. So this is why the categories are all really referred to as NG+, but like not technically on the boards. It's because of the weapon.
Yeah, it would be possible to go and do a NG run, new game run completely, but you only start with the toxic bubble, which isn't really used. It could be used a little bit in place of the frog and maybe the forceful in some locations, but a lot of the time it's a little bit of niche usage. And you can purchase weapons by collecting 5 yarn through the levels, and collecting 5 yarn through the levels and spending it on a random weapon.
Okay.
So
then
no one really wants to do NG runs because the random order, and the forceful is, oh yeah, the frisbee, of course.
So you've just... Okay. That makes sense. Just skip all that nonsense and just get a raw game. It's interesting that you don't refer to it as New Game Plus, though. Just like...
yeah, everyone's disagreeing at this point. It's just we don't want to just keep adding things to it. Adding things to the title of the category.
Because with so much a random item, that sounds kind of awful for a speedrun.
But yeah, there are also some pretty major version differences that also kind of play into effect here. So when you start up the game for the very first time, there's actually a prologue chapter that will play before chapter 1, and we're not going to see any of that in this run. Because in order to do that, you would have to, if I remember correctly, sell all the weapons that you would get that arrive into your Steam inventory. And I don't even want to talk about resetting games on console. That's just like, nobody wants to deal with that.
And then, of course, worth mentioning is you do need to get those green gems to complete the stages, right?
Yes, in every stage except the finale 2, or except for chapter 8 finale 2, you need 3 gems. You need to pick up 3 gems to open the exit. Most of the Finale 2s, you can just you pick up the key, and you don't have to have all 3 of the gems, because hitting the key will end the chapter.
So that's your main objective, and then I guess the routing comes into play there. And I'm guessing, yeah, there's more than 3 gems per stage, so you just get the main ones, and whatnot. I have to imagine as we watch this run.
Yes, that's the main difference between just 80% and 100%.
Okay, I see. Because then you're just going all around the level, getting the green gems, and compared to just going right through.
Yeah.
Okay, then I saw you had like a little swiping attack. It just is like a melee thingy.
It's called a spike attack. It has 2 different
also
properties.
Okay.
Yeah, depending on how many jumps you have left in the air. If you have 1 jump left and you do a spike attack, it counts as a jump, so it removes your like a jump point, quote unquote, and it'll extend your jump length without making you move horizontally slower. But if you do 2 jumps, or you walk off a ledge and don't use any jumps, it will slow your rate of fall at the same speed, but will actually impede your horizontal speed by a lot. So the only way to actually really make it useful is to do a single jump and then do the spike attack, and you'll see that often used in setups.
So how many like abilities are you working with here? Like since you're starting in New Game Plus, essentially.
So for right out of the bat, we're going to be using Force Ball and the Frog a lot. I think it's called a Wall Hugger. But later you'll see different things like the Boomerang that can collect hats, gems, and yarn. We don't really use that much in 90%. There are a few levels where we can skip a lot of stuff just by throwing a boomerang through clouds, for instance, where normally we'd have to go around the entire level. And airplanes. And that'll come up later as well.
Yeah, we can feel free to kind of expand on the different abilities while we're watching the run. But I'm just like noticing that because I'm just having parts of the run play here so we can demonstrate kind of what's going on with the game. Before we actually begin the actual replay. So yeah, it looks pretty. It looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it's really
all the abilities.
Yeah, it is really, really fun to play. It is really nice to control, and yeah, it's a real joy. I never really, so like I said, never really got into much platformers, just because I'm not really a fan of the control schemes, but I just always love BattleBlocks for some reason, and that's because it's really, really nice to control.
Oh, I use keyboard, and Mibulous uses controller.
I don't have much of a choice in that because I run on console still. Big difference between console and PC is PC actually gets 2 weapon slots available, and they can swap between them with a little bit of delay, whereas console only gets 1 weapon slot.
That's quite the difference.
You think so, but since we end up using the Force Ball for most of the run, I think it's most of Chapter 4, most of Chapter 7 we don't use it for, and a few odd stages in the middle.
Yeah, like sometimes there'll be one skip that saves enough time to justify menuing twice.
And then it's like you have like these little mini puzzles in the stages too, and I'm guessing most of those are pretty simple.
Yeah.
Type of thing. You can feel free to comment on those too as we go through the run.
Yeah. PC having 2 weapon slots does actually save too much time. You can do. It makes it easy to do some tricks because, like you'll see in Chapter 5, there's a few jumps where you can just swap to a frog and just walk along the water on that. Whereas I'd have to bounce it off the back wall and then get pushed into it. But because I have a few frames of knockback, I have to make sure I jump at the right place and not get knocked into the water. So it makes it a little bit more issue for me, but no real time loss. So it only actually saves about a minute between console and PC.
I'm not sure. It's been a while since we actually compared like the most optimal strategies, but it's probably between 1 and 2 minutes, maybe?
I'd say it's definitely less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
But over an hour 14 long run, that's basically marginal.
Yeah.
And
so
Oh, go ahead.
to go off what Extruder said in chat, I believe these updates were added after after feedback that they got on the console version. There's some other changes as well that we'll point out later.
That's what I was gonna say.
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, it'll happen. Yeah, game looks sick. So we can probably. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna ask. How's the damage system work in the game as far as like deaths go?
You have infinite HP, but if you die, you'll respawn at the last checkpoint you hit. And if you didn't hit any checkpoints, you'll just respawn at the spawn cage at the start of the level.
So it's like instant death traps that are your main concern?
Yeah, like lasers falling in water.
Lasers, spikes falling into water, cannon shots, and cats using offensive weapons.
So what are things that like hit you but don't kill you then?
You can be punched by a cat. You can be, and some of the weapons they throw. So, I'm not sure how many you actually see in 80% no level skips. Because I've been playing a lot of 100% recently, so I know there's a few that throw dodgeballs, and you can be hit by them, and you'll be sort of stunned for a little while, but it won't kill you. It won't ever kill you.
Okay. Extruder's poking in with a question there. With the motion block boosting. How random.
I think he was referring to the lava blocks because you pointed those out earlier. Yeah, if you hit a lava block once, you'll enter like this sort of enhanced motion state, I guess you could call it. And that if you hit a lava block again without hitting a ceiling or wall or doing a single jump, you'll actually get a much greater boost sideways if you hit the same lava block.
Yeah, it'll be the same boost vertically, but you just go way further sideways.
Yeah, I think that's shown in Chapter 2 in some places, among some others.
So you just like jumping off the lava block to activate that, or are you using the force ball at that point?
It doesn't actually involve any weapons, you just have to hit it. Although some weapons, like the force ball, can greatly enhance this effect.
Okay. Okay, we can probably start getting to the run here, and you can feel free to comment about what's actually happening. So, so I know what's happening, and then you can go deeper into the actual tech and stuff, and we'll just go from there, pretty much.
Cool.
All right. Well, let's start it from 0 then, and I'll do a countdown, and we'll check out this run in its entirety. It's a bit of a longer one, hour and 17. Well, the video is an hour and 17 minutes, but the run is an hour and 14 minutes flat.
Yeah, the 117 just includes the end credits.
Gotcha.
It's worth watching those. It's very silly. That will definitely make me understand why it's a comedy platformer.
Cool. All right, I'll do the countdown then, and we'll get started. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Oh boy. So right away, yeah, you'll notice that you can skip this intro cutscene. So that saves roughly 3 seconds right away.
So when you enter the chapter, you can just press start, or I'm not sure, can you press any other buttons, or just skip it?
Just any button that would pause the game.
Yeah. So they've seen a couple of blocks where you saw cloud blocks, the exploding blocks, and the lava blocks. So exploding blocks, if you touch one with either yourself, a cat touches it, a cannon shot touches it, it'll explode, and then it'll set an exploding block that's touching it off as well, and it'll just pass along through all of them. You can also activate it with some weapons. Cloud blocks, you can rise up through the bottom of them and go through the side of them, but you can't fall back down through them. So you see there, he had to go side to side down there in 1-2 instead of
there's some
drop straight down.
Where a weapon can fall through a cloud, but you'll see that later again. Chapter 7 has a lot of like rule breaking.
Chapter 7 is really fun. And we already talked about lava blocks just giving you... they'll always trigger basically as you hit them, and it'll just give you a boost. If you hit the side of it, like here in 1-3, you'll be boosted off to the side. If you land on the top of it, you'll be boosted straight up. So they are all fairly predictable.
Yeah, Chapter 7 is just a lot of really tight movement, robust setups. I consider it to be the most consistent chapter by far. I suppose I could talk about cap cycles and stuff. So the hitbox size of the console versus PC caps are actually slightly different, and on PC, the slightly larger hitboxes can mess up some knockback cycles. I think it happens in Chapter 6 later on. But the two main kinds of cats in this game are weapon cats and like physical melee cats. Weapon cats all start on the exact same timer when the level loads, so any cat that's firing a weapon will shoot at the same interval throughout the entirety of the level. Like, that's always going to be something you can count on to be consistent. Weapon cats, on the other hand, are completely RNG driven, and in some cases will have frame-perfect reactions to your movement in which it is impossible to avoid them. So we try to not go about those at all.
Unfortunately, you missed a little boost on the ice there. Oh, that was... I'll let you talk about the frog after this. So he missed a boost on the ice. What ice does is... If a force ball hits you when you're on the ice and knocks you sideways, it will give you a massive increase in momentum. We'll use that later. We'll abuse that slightly later in a few chapters. We'll come up. But there's a cool jump he did there where he had to swap out to the frog, and then he did a frame-perfect jump and then drop the frog after it. And so that allowed him to stand on the frog, because the frogs have they have a short fuse before they actually explode, and frogs can stand in the water and walk along them. So we can use them as little islands.
And that's their intended use, I'm guessing.
Yep, that's definitely intended use, yep. Cool. So I used it to basically place it just under the block. You landed on it, slid across it, and picked up a gem. And that's one of the ones that it's not actually faster for me to swap out to a frog on console, so I have to collect a different gem in it. So it's very small details like that PC does gain an advantage over.
Nice.
But in this case, that only saves sort of less than a second. And it takes me longer than that to menu.
Yeah. So you might be asking, whoa, you just skipped the level, this run's invalid. Well,
Whoa, I
funny
never noticed that. Game Guy, you're cheating.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. Oh, we have to end the podcast. I'm just kidding. So when we enter a secret level like that, it actually assigns a letter grade to the parent level, which is the scene which we actually need to complete the category. So we can do that. We'll enter the stage and then enter the secret stage, which is something that's not required for the trophy item at the end of the game.
Just crossing your T's and dotting your I's, pretty much there.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
That was a quick one.
Yeah, the early game in this run is exceptionally good. Oh, so about laser cycles. Sometimes you can actually beat that first laser there. They also start at the same point when a level loads in. Actually, just a second. I think... Okay, so this is a trick known as boatless.
This is a stupid trick and I hate it.
It's really, really precise, and it's most often not required to do in full game runs, but sometimes I go for it if I'm behind on a split, and I happen to get it there.
So you do some frog hopping there, I guess, was the alternative?
No, you actually have to do a slow boat ride across the entire thing. It saves a couple seconds. But lasers. After a laser fires, the duration of the laser is a fixed like amount, so you can predict when a laser is going to end. But the interval in between laser shots is random within a certain range. So you can kind of predict where lasers will shoot. You'll find out like what patterns they'll likely be on, depending on the deviation the laser could have had, depending on how long you've been on the level. So, more often than not, lasers aren't an issue. They are if you're impatient.
Yeah, that's normally my biggest issue. Look at the exploding blocks is that when you actually see them explode isn't when their actual hitbox disappears. So you'll see here, he'll trigger one to explode and they'll jump on the other sort of as it explodes, but he'll be able to stand on the exploding one for just a few frames more than it's actually visible for.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty good patterns there. Yeah, now there's going to be a little bit of downtime before we get to Chapter 2. Do you have any questions, Alquist?
Yeah, it's just kind of... It's funny the exploding blocks are used for navigation and not you're not actually like getting, you know, penalized for hitting those like a normal game.
You know, I'd never actually thought of that. That's a good point.
But they're just like for navigation of the stage, which is cool.
Yeah, it's like a way to enforce a time limit in an otherwise stationary platformer.
Other than the time that is actually in the finales.
Oh, yeah. Those explosions are timed.
No, there's actually a timer set on for the finales. So stages 1 to 9 in each chapter aren't timed, but your finales will be. Finales and encores are, but encores we don't play in any %.
Yeah.
And hitting a checkpoint in the finales will add 10 seconds to the timer.
So, when you touch an explosion block, like it's gonna shoot you no matter what, right? Or is that so? I'm still trying to understand the exploding block.
Like the one that was in the finale, or all these red?
Just all of them.
These lava blocks. When you touch them, you'll be instantly moved away from them the frame you touch them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's impossible to be in contact for them for more than one frame.
Okay. I was under the impression for a moment that you were like they were exploding at a certain time, and that's what was launching you. But no, it's just you touch them and they launch you. I got a little confused there.
Nice books there.
Yeah, you see there, because he was standing against the wall, so he'd get boosted up, but because he was also standing on ice at the time, he got sent with massive sideways momentum as well. That's a neat little jump under the corner.
If you're familiar with like I Wanna fan games and stuff, we call those F jumps. That's kind of where it came from. Because like you're doing a jump out and around like the top piece of an F. They're pretty precise sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah, you can chain together those frog blocks. You just have to be careful to Oh yeah, there's actually a cooldown between using weapons. You can't use another weapon a few seconds after you've used one. So if you try to be too fast chaining together frogs or using force balls and stuff, you'll just dry fire and nothing will happen.
Gotcha.
You saw fuzzy bears in that level, and they'll also be on a cycle from when you start the level. So you can always predict where they will be. That comes in useful for this stage, actually. This is the first time we really need to make a cycle on them.
Yeah, that's tight.
Yeah, that was actually a frame-perfect slide on the lava block to make that cycle.
Yeah, because like GameguySD said earlier, you can't actually hit hit it for any longer than 1 frame, but you can slide the frame you hit it to gain sideways momentum, even if you haven't hit a lava block previously.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this level also has another cycle that we're trying to make at the end of it.
It is possible to go too fast for the cycle right at the end here, though.
Yeah, here's one place where we actually look at the time under the checkpoint to see if our pace is good. It's like 20 seconds there. I know that I'm on the correct cycle and I can go for it.
When you pass the checkpoint, it shows you a little timer. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like in-game splits.
Oh,
It's
neat.
when if you've already completed the level once before, then the time will actually appear underneath the checkpoints.
That's nice.
The first time you play,
That's what
though,
causes it.
yeah.
So the game's designed to be speedrun, essentially, here, right?
Everything worked out really well, I'll say that.
That's kind of the impression I get with a lot of this stuff.
The run is still deathless up till... Wait, did you die?
No, I think the only thing I missed was that boost in Chapter 1. This game does have an auto-splitter extra X. It was developed by Darkkid. JBZ Darkkid, I believe, on Twitch.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the exact Twitch name, but Darkkid is right, yeah.
Yeah. But this, like this Chapter 2 actually ended up being an IL record.
Another thing about the Force Wall is that it can be used to trigger these exploding blocks. So we throw it underneath that wall, it can trigger the blocks actually on the other side. Normally we'd have to jump up to the top of the level and then trigger the blocks at the top, but then it explodes very slowly all the way around and then drops to the boat.
Yeah.
Also jump into the top channel though with some fairly decent timing.
Yeah, smooth stuff.
Yeah, your attack hitbox goes through other blocks sometimes, if your position's right. That's how I was able to attack through the wall there. And you can also jump on the sides of spikes.
That is a super scary jump. If you ever think about playing this game, do not do that jump. That is not the right way to play that level.
How easy is it for the lava blocks to shoot you in a direction you don't want?
Sorry?
Like the lava block, how easy is it for the lava block
Okay.
direction to go not where you want it to go, I guess?
Oh, it doesn't really...
Tricky to control lava blocks is when you have sort of two of them very close together, and so you just end up bouncing between the two, because then it gives you then even a slight movement to one way will put it off by quite a bit.
I did walk on the spike at the beginning of this level, by the way. I'm sure Mibs would love to explain how that works.
He's a big old cheater. No. It's because whenever you load into a level, you do actually have invincibility frames, so you can't actually interact with anything. It will still look like you hit the spikes, but you're not actually loaded in properly to interact with them. So you can, so at the start of 2.91, you can actually jump on those spikes if you're quick enough. Here's a cool trick.
Totally intended, by the way.
Oh, nice.
That's Ice Breaks the Game #1.
Wait, that was not intended, though.
No, not even.
No, that was perfectly intended. I don't know how you're meant to play the level.
Game has enough weird stuff as it is.
Way to
Do you want to
bite the
explain
bullet
how
so
ice
far. You
works
don't even
or
complain about the
doesn't
prison
really work
food, which is
in
shocking.
this case?
Yeah, sure. Think of, again, this is all going to go back to force ball. You'll find that often. Think of the force ball as an acceleration multiplier. when you're on ice, it's obvious that you accelerate very, very slowly from a standstill. Force ball makes you accelerate very, very, very quickly from a standstill. So if you get a specific kind of knockback from the force ball, which is the setup that I used there by jumping backwards into the wall, I'm completely against the wall. I also throw a frog earlier so I can bounce it off the frog and get like slightly less knockback because it explodes not directly on my hitbox, which would give me slightly, like a bit of upwards momentum, and that won't work. You'll get ejected from the wall. So in this case, I actually get shot so fast and so hard that I travel more than the distance of a single block in one frame, so I get clipped into the wall. And because I didn't get any upwards knockback, I'm still on the ground, on the ice that happens to be inside the wall, and I can clip through that other wall, like using that ice. It's really convenient, and it's used in a few places. Yeah, you're just like brute forcing yourself through the wall.
What's your favorite chapter in BattleBlock Game Guy?
I would say Chapter 7. How about you?
I like Chapter 7 a lot. Chapter 6 is also pretty spicy.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Extruder. I don't think I've redone any level.
Act 1,
Yeah,
Scene 3.
Oh. That's right. Yeah, fun fact about Chapter 7 though. It used to be one of the longest chapters in the game, but now it's like pretty much tied for second fast. Because so many skips were discovered over like the course of a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, Extruder, I think you might be referring to the stamps that show up at the top of the clipboard at the end of the stage. The 3 check marks, or X's, or crosses, or what have you, on the top of it refer to the 3 scenes of a single act. And because this is not a blank new save file, it's going to show the future stages as already having been completed in the past. That doesn't really mean anything, because the route's still the same and the times are still the same. It's just a side effect of the game being NG+.
Yeah. We'd like to name more skips after people who have discovered them, but it turns out that if we did that, 90% of the skips would be named the Game Guy skip. which doesn't help any of the skips.
Instead, you gotta come up with like clever names that refer to things in the stages or something.
We haven't done Chapter 1 again.
I think he's, I think when he starts the level, it says Act 1, Scene 2. It's like, it'll say that for every chapter. Oh yeah, first half of the run. It'll say that for everyone. It doesn't actually have the proper chapter name next to it. So we just have to remember what chapter we're on. We're on Chapter 3 right now, I believe. 3, 5?
Yeah. Like, if you're quick enough, you'll see the... when I pause the game, it'll actually say the level on the top. So, like, 2-5 or 6-7 or whatever it is. This level has a new strat. It is very spicy.
Is it the one in this video, or...?
Yeah, it's the one in the video.
Yeah. Spike jumps are stupid. Don't do them.
Yeah, how tight are those spike jumps?
I do a 1-frame tap to get on the edge. Then I jump and press forward on the same frame. Then I line up with the next one, do the same 1-frame tap, and then the same, like, single frame input again.
So pretty close.
So it's, yeah.
Fairly easy, you know, just gotta be able to press it for like 0.016 of a second. It's easy, really.
Well, it looks easy because the spikes are like in the middle of the tile, right?
I think you have, depending on what your
Oh,
alignment
there's
is, like you can have either 1 or 2 frames to stop on the edge of a spike. There, I have to do a 1-frame tap.
That might be the first death of the run?
I believe so.
I think so, yeah.
Or definitely the first unintentional. I'm not sure there is an intentional one before this.
I'm kind of glad you died there, just so we could see what what was that was like, how close it is. I asked.
Yeah, the run does have like a few mistakes, but like it's to be expected.
What do you reckon the fastest BattleBlock Theater can go? In any extent?
I would say a low 112. 111 if you want to put 500 hours into attempts.
Game Guy, do you want to put 500 hours into attempts?
I don't know. It's hard to like motivate yourself to run a category when you're like when the output you so far ahead in front of all the other runners.
That could be a thing, yeah.
Yeah, the sum of all the IL records is 111, like a mid 111, I think.
Yeah. And while there isn't much RNG, there is enough that it could be difficult to achieve all of the a time equal to all the IL world records.
Yeah. Like later in the game when lasers, different RNG determined patterns play into effect, it's not uncommon to have a level where the best possible time is like 6 or 7 seconds off the patterns that you'd get in a run.
Yeah, because I think your actual sum of best is it close to 109?
I can check actually, give me a sec.
Live fact finding, I love it.
So there's a lot of, would you say like a good amount of the time that you can improve is from getting good RNG, or is it actually more so execution?
The record's not RNG dependent yet.
I'd say at Game Guys though it is probably easier to get faster times just by having perfect RNG.
Like I can still out-execute this.
Oh, okay.
That's a cool trick. We also forgot to mention just regular block bridge fall. We'll get to that on Finale 2. But what he did there was he lined up the movable block in such a way that when he jumps, if he jumps first and then grabs, his hitbox will be in the block above. And so while you normally can't bring the movable block through the cloud, when he jumps, his hitbox is then in the cloud, but it's also low enough that it can pick up the block from below it. It's weird, his hitbox takes up about 4 squares at once, sort of like the very corners of where they touch. It's a little bit weird, a little bit not cheating, we swear. And, yeah. And so he can actually just lift it straight through the cloud block there, and that saves a little bit of the bridge puzzle. It saves a little bit of time, and it looks much cooler.
You've really got
my
the
current
crowd
sum of
eating
best
from your
is a
delicate hands now.
109.16.
There's never a dull moment with you at the helm.
Which is, and that is using an auto splitter, so it's pretty accurate.
So 109 next week, yeah?
Oh yeah, of course.
And also Bridgefall, we forgot to mention it, but when the movable block is on is sort of wedged into a 1 block high space, and it's underneath on a light bridge block. Just forgot the name of it for a second. Absolutely blanked. When it's on that block, if you jump and then grab it, it'll register it as it's been taken off the block for a second, even though it hasn't actually gone anywhere. So the bridge will actually disappear for a second, and you can just fall straight through it, and then it will reappear. So it's like you saw back in 3 Finale 2. Sorry, I was busy explaining cloud clips still. when we got to it. But if you do go and watch it sometime, you will see that he basically stood on, he was standing on the bridge, it disappeared for a second, fell went to a teleport, he landed on the bridge and he came back. You also see it in 3.2. Is another time you use it?
I think so. I don't know. I have a really, really bad time remembering what levels are what. This level has a skip at the beginning. It's a little bit precise to get those both off at the same time. I can't remember if I actually messed this up in this run. Okay, I was like 1 frame from getting squished by the rock there. If a rock falls on your head, you will die.
Why'd you keep going back and forth there? Was that an accident?
Yeah,
the warp block?
I wall bumped earlier in the level, so I lost a bit of time. Normally, I would beat that first rock and I wouldn't have to go through the portal again. If I would have just stayed on the left, I would have gotten squished. Portals have a really weird property in that if you go through a portal, you'll actually travel across the stage in a direct line to the other portal. But objects like cats and rocks will instantly teleport to the other side. So you can use that sort of delay to actually like create an artificial delay.
Did you say
there.
blip?
Wait,
what did you say? Artificial what?
Oh, delay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying, those rocks are getting in the way of the invisible warp, and then that was messing that up. I'm not sure if I followed that correctly.
I was just slow, so I went through the portal and used the teleporting time to make sure that the rock teleported ahead of me, so I could then go through and avoid getting squished.
Okay.
You also saw in 4.4 there, Game Guy got set on fire.
Ignore that.
He then died and landed, but somehow didn't die.
Yeah, that was weird as fuck.
I'm fairly certain he used invincibility cheats. I mean, jury's still out from that. No, it's because if you get caught on set on fire and then you land in water, they'll give you just a straight boost upwards. It is possible to use in 5.1. I don't think you do it in 5.1. You probably do the frog walk at the ending.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. We'll see it when we come to it. So I'm not sure if we get another chance to mention it. And yeah, so we got set on fire, and even after the fire kills you, you can still hit the water and just bounce up and survive. So he managed to do that, and so that saved his life. I mean, to be fair, if he hadn't been on fire, he wouldn't have died in the first place. We'll look past that.
So, how broken is this game?
It's fixable.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say probably about an F.
So, broken is what I'm getting from that.
Yes.
Just gotta clarify, because, yeah, there's been some it's been a lot of goofiness.
Yeah. Oh, another really important thing to point out is that when uncapped on PC, this game will run at 64 frames per second. That is banned because the physics of this game are actually like frame rate dependent. So it's absolutely enforced that you have to run at 60 FPS.
What he did there in 4.7 to get into the secret was he wedged himself in under the block, and when there's a 1 block high conveyor belt moving the other way, normally conveyor belts you can just sort of jump, you can just keep repeatedly jumping, and you'll just gain more ground than you lose. But when it's in 1 block high, you can't jump faster, you can't get the double jump off, so you can't actually move faster unless you're crouching when you do it. I'm not sure why you need to be crouched. I just know that you do. And I also know that I spent about 3 hours practicing because no one told me I had to crouch.
Oh no.
And I just found like, oh, like this is impossible.
I think it's because crouching decreases your vertical hitbox size, so you get a couple frames more air time. It's actually possible to mash against the conveyor without ducking, but you have to mash at like 12 or 13 hertz.
Just enough to give him hope.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only moving a little bit backwards. I can do this.
Oh, I accidentally trick shotted myself there.
What's the trick shot?
Oh, I shot a force ball forward because when there are multiple portals, the exit portal is randomly determined. So I was waiting for a grenade to go through the top portal out of a possible 3 outputs to kill the cat so I can continue. But it's possible to shoot a force ball early so that it just deflects instantly back to it and you don't have to wait for the portals. Well, I got unlucky, but also messed up, like reading what patterns I was getting. So the cat ended up dying, and I ended up launching a grenade into the air that killed me like 3 seconds later.
Oh.
Oh, and if you're wondering why the audio balance might seem a little bit off during the credits or during cutscenes, it's that for some reason, whenever the game is playing one of those types of cutscenes, it auto defaults to putting all the volume to max.
Spicy triple up throw to save it.
This is getting pretty busy now.
Yeah, we're starting to get into the more like intensive stuff. Oh, speaking of strats that have names, it was. This next level actually has a strat that Mibs found.
100% on purpose. It's not true. It was very accidental because I managed to end up throwing it what I thought was too late. We'll see. We'll explain it close enough. So you throw the rock onto the launch pad. You then throw it. You then throw the rock off the launch pad. You then get launched into the launch pad. At which point, you catch the rock and just go straight up, and it skips you having to deal with the next launch pad that comes up. It saves a little bit of time, and I think it's the one strat that's named after me. And I found it completely on accident.
Take my dainty hand as I whisk you back
Very
to a
good.
time long forgotten, long before
Taychek pointed out that was the second hat of the run. This game has a mechanic similar to Marble Madness, in that hats can randomly spawn in the same manner that like a Moan can spawn. In this game, when a hat spawns, there's nothing you can do. It's completely random. And it'll take about 3 seconds to complete, and it'll spawn a golden hat randomly in the level, but if you take it to the exit, we'll give you 10 extra gems that you can use for just trading and stuff. But if you actually collect the hat and bring it to the exit, it'll give you a much longer completion animation that will waste like 4 seconds or something. So it's possible to drop this hat with a manual input of Y or Control or whatever the relief key is. Normally you'd have to wait there for the fire to hit you so you could jump off of the water.
I mean, not normally. Normally you'd actually solve the puzzle, but...
Oh, well. Oh, yeah.
You've made your own puzzle at this point. Or something.
Wait,
I mean, I'm guessing a lot of the force ball usage really skips a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's like really satisfying movement.
Which is why you'd think weaponless would be awful, but I actually really, really enjoy it.
It looks very fun to get shot around like that.
I do miss the kaboomy ball sometimes, but the heart wants what the heart wants.
If you saw at the beginning of this level, that's the game's way of telling you that you can walk over one-tile gaps if there's ice.
So that was a death there, I do believe.
Yeah.
That was, yes.
If you exit a slide and you would happen to like start standing where a saw is moving in the same direction as you, it would kill you instantly. There's nothing you can do. Apart from not sliding in the first place.
The only thing I could have now is get a better read on it, but apart from that, not much you could have done.
Yeah. So there's actually a little piece of tech there that would probably go unnoticed, but it's possible to jump 3 blocks high off of the top of a rail. You actually have to climb off the top of the rail in order to do this. Because when you climb off the top, that very tiny climb speed that you get actually carries for a few frames, and that gives you an extra few pixels of height that you need to make the jump. Otherwise, you'd have to wait for the late bridge. Yeah, that's correct, Chuck.
I see, you just gave up on the force ball.
Yeah. This is another level where I was trying to make an early cycle, so even though I messed it up twice, I didn't lose as much as it might appear.
Okay.
I think this is one of the first very significant death warps in the run. So here I'm strategically trying to avoid all of the checkpoints, so I can open up a later path in the level that leads to the exit. So after this, I'm going to death warp off the gem, go back to the start. Make sure I don't turn that saw around so I don't miss this cycle here, and then that opens up the exit. I think it saves like 30 seconds or something, maybe even more.
Yeah, I think I'll just pick up the gem and then relief. Because I think it'll still make the same cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty big reset point for new runners.
Game Guy can memorize all these level timings because he has the big brain.
The big brain.
That's his nickname. Game Guy, the Big Brain SD. We've given about 30 different names.
Okay. I do something very stupid here. I actually do a miss input on this next level block on the ceiling. I don't know how I survived this.
That was it?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. We often joke the Game Guy is half Canadian, half Taskbot.
When you got like over an hour of non-stop platforming and stuff like this, it gets to be a bit much, I have to imagine. It's kind of...
It's actually not that bad, because
Not
there are a
that
lot
bad.
of downtime in between stages. Like, you basically have no nerves.
Oh, yeah, that is nice. That does go a long way, actually. Yeah, that's a good point.
This level's not fun and weaponless because I'm nowhere near as good at Game Guy setting up the one frame tap to set up a proper spike jump.
Ooh.
So that jump's pain.
That was intended death there? Or no?
No, I held left for too long and hit the side of the level block.
Ah.
It was also an unintended checkpoint skip. So you just missed the checkpoint just before the actual alternating blocks and the spikes.
Yeah, that wasn't very good.
Those are just the melee cats, right?
Yeah, the ones that you can't really predict.
there's a cool thing at the start of 5.8 there. So he got rid of the exploding blocks and then replaced some of them with the actual light bridge. And he then removed the light bridge. And so if an exploding block has its place taken by a laser or a light bridge while it's not active, as soon as it disappears, it will come back straight away, even if it's not due to come back for another few seconds. Any notable meme categories for the game? Any percent, yes. And also, we've got a couple more. We've got Duck Shark's Big Adventure. We've got True Any Percent. How can you forget True Any Percent, Game Guy?
Oh, I couldn't.
What are the other big ones? We had All Secrets.
Oh yeah, All Secrets is kind of fun.
All Secrets that no one's really done yet. So,
not really a meme category, but there's this game has an arena mode with like soccer, capture the horse, different things like that, and it actually has a challenge mode category, which is levels with an in-game timer. So those are really fun. Those aisles are actually quite optimized. I think Chaos Edge and Seductive Spatula ran the co-op challenge levels at ESA not too long ago. Sorry, Mips?
I was going to say, True Any Percent, you're intrigued. You should not be intrigued. It's literally we run from the start of the game to the end of the game and then play the final 2 stages. It's really, really dumb. The world record is currently at, what, 2:16, something like that?
Yeah, think about that. It's either you or Storm. Storm's
It's not me. I think it is Storm.
Currently 2nd place.
That was a good place to be.
I'm just loving when like the word "true" is used for these categories. It's like, like what? Like it's just an arbitrary word.
Yeah.
At
We
this point.
calling it. Because we consider calling really NG plus.
Really true or
like somewhat true 80%.
Yeah.
Somewhat true.
Oh, you call it like the infamous some percent.
Some here and there.
Yeah, you just do a percent wherever you want.
Just, I'm not feeling this stage. Just skip to the next one. Take a me day.
Well, my favorite is like when you try to speedrun a game, but you're not actually speedrunning it, so it's like a slow run. So you're just kind of trying to go through fast, but you don't know any tech.
Yeah, like
That's what I do in Dark Souls, and I can beat it in like 7 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty fast, right?
Yeah, blind runs can be fun to do.
You're
I did
famous.
mention earlier, Aim said you enter stages 1 and 2 of each act, and you can quit it. You have to play the third stage of each act, or the third scene of each act, sorry, and the 2 finales. So it ends up taking the total stages from about 88 to 40. You can't do it on insane mode though. There's no cheating there.
I think it's either Chapter 8, Chapter 6, or Chapter 5 that's the worst chapter in this run. Yeah, so there might be some patchy stuff in this chapter, but it should still show everything. Another wall clip there.
That's Ice Breaks game number 2.
Dang.
When you're holding a block like that, your hitbox is actually closer to the middle.
Oh, you nearly got that.
It's possible to boost if your position is extremely precise all the way to the right side.
Dang. That still looks nice, though.
Yeah, you actually got caught on the ice block on the far side, so you must have been 1 pixel out.
Yeah.
Through the whole level, that'd be an impressive one.
It's also really annoying split to run against if you pull it off in a PB. Oh yeah, I did some bad things here. Remember how we said those weapon caps are really bad, and how ice has weird physics? The end of this level is not fun.
Yeah. You can make that final jump across off the lower level to the upper level if you do manage to hit the ice for even a frame, but sometimes the cat will get in the way and you'll hit the cat instead of the ice and you'll just walk off the edge and you won't have enough momentum to actually make it to the end. And then we get in the situation that we call Furry Tower of Death, because all the cats just come down and just start wailing on you. You can't die, so you're just stuck there.
Perhaps a point of, like, do you have a reset on that, or is there any, like, reset points?
I can't think of any reason you would reset a whole level in this. This is run on normal mode, by the way. There's a mode called Insane Mode that has no checkpoints, and any death will automatically restart the entire level.
Oh yeah, that boost is dumb.
What are you talking about? It's just RNG.
Okay, it's not that boost that is dumb. What's dumb about that boost is how consistently it actually works. It actually works a surprising amount of the time, and I hate that it does. You talk about something just before that dumb boost. I've completely forgotten what it was. Oh yes, you couldn't think of any time you want to reset a level. Maybe 7-5 if you fail the checkpoint skip first try.
Oh, that's a good point. And Chapter 7 Finale 2 as well.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about, like, full run resets, but that's interesting too.
Sometimes, like, the patterns get so out of control that it can be best just to reset the level.
Spike jump.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was a super cheeky spike jump.
And yeah, like Paycheck said, it's actually possible to soft lock in this game in a few places. If you hit a checkpoint and you haven't gotten enough gems to open the exit, and like you can't backtrack to where there are any more gems, you'll have to reset the level.
You can do that in 8-5, but you have to be really
nice.
You have to really try to skip gems in 8-5. 8-7's the big one though, because you change how quickly the blocks alternate, and if you miss a checkpoint after one certain section, then it'll then you can go back and you can't actually get across it before it alternates off, because you need it to walk across some spikes safely.
Another nice boost.
Yeah, that one can be scary. If you miss it, you'll fall in the water.
I think 6-6 is probably my favorite individual stage, just when it's pulled off the absolute fastest cycles.
Oh, mine would have to be 6-7. This is my favorite level in the entire game in every category. You'll see why very shortly.
Isn't it 6-8?
Oh yeah, 6-8. Never mind what I just said.
You can't even remember your favorite stage.
I'm sorry.
But yes, 6-8 is a very cool one as well. Fun fact, I'm not sure anyone in the community actually knows how to do this puzzle properly.
Nice.
Even on Insane Mode, you just pull the blocks through the clouds at the side, and then you don't have to worry about them anymore. It's kind of a little dumb.
Yeah, you see that there's like a lot more like clipping at this point in the game. Oh, and regarding saw cycles, that will come into effect a little bit more now. When a level spawns, they also always spawn in the same position, but which direction they start moving is random, so sometimes it's easy to predict which direction a saw went if it's alternating over a button. And if you up-toss PC cats, they'll die very quickly.
You up-toss them and they hit something above. They hit another cat above them. They'll die. It doesn't work on console though, so I'm. Yeah. That is probably the coolest clip in the level. And is this the one stage where you have to? Well, you don't have to pick up the yarn, but most of the time we do end up picking up the yarn here. Unfortunately, that gives us an extra stamp, so we lose 0.4 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, once you get that first clip, you literally just mash the shoot button. I think I might have died in this level. I remember there being a pretty big mistake here somewhere. No, I guess not.
At least not so far.
Cool boost.
Yeah, that one's fun.
That was a nice 6-9. 6-9 is another favorite personal level of mine.
What kind of block is those like light blue ones at the end there?
They were movable ones, so they're ones where you can grab and you just drag them around. You're supposed to use them to make an actual staircase on the right-hand side of that puzzle, but Game Guy just got around that by standing in a spot and just throwing the rock, jumping, catching it in the air, and then throwing it again.
If you remember, in Chapter 2 Finale 1, it was possible to walk on the spike. We can do that same thing with the saw there, with the spawning invincibility frames.
Although if you fail it once, you can't do it again because then the invincibility frames just run out.
Yeah, like you only get that when you're spawning into a level, not every subsequent respawn.
So you have to do it to make yourself look good. You have to get it that first time because either that would just completely reset the level.
This looks like a fun one.
That is really fun. It is really fun when you get to chain together a bunch of really nice Omega boosts.
Yeah. Like, there's something that's really good about this game, and that you can just fly around all over the screen.
Weapons are still fun. Give it
Now
a
it goes
give it a
without
look.
saying, but cats really don't like to be
Okay.
ignored. And my oh my, this.
Oh, thanks. So, Chapter 5, we briefly introduced the concept of the checkpoint skips with 5-5. Chapter 6, you explored using ice to break walls. Chapter 7, we'll start introducing ways that we use the other weapons they give us to really break levels. Because a lot of Chapter 7's sort of theory is they'll give you a level and you have to go through basically the whole stage, and it'd either be the exits right next to where you pick up the final few gems, or when you unlock the exit, or you'll play through a level once and then you'll activate a switch and you have to play through it again to make it harder. We've found ways around most of them, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even all of them.
This level right here is the most recent big skip. This saves roughly 23 seconds. And it's also the first use of the airplane.
Do you want to explain the airplane?
Yeah, sure. So for the past few years, it was known that it was possible to duplicate airplanes, like in certain circumstances, but it usually abused client-side lag. But that must have been like a year and a half ago now. It was found out that it's possible to actually duplicate airplanes by pausing mid-throw animation and switching to a different weapon. Like, starting at a different weapon, then switching to airplane. That airplane will no longer explode. Typically, when you throw an airplane, if you switch to another weapon, try to throw that weapon like the airplane you threw will explode. So you can't have more than one airplane or one weapon variety on the screen at a time. However, you'll see right here that I pause, switch the weapon, and then I can push that forward, and then I can throw another one, slide over that, and then skip the checkpoint. And that's a huge skip. It's also like very lenient to do the weapon duplication.
Not bad.
So I'd say it's about 30 seconds overplaying the whole level again.
Yeah, like messing up literally any single one of the levels in this chapter is an instant reset. Like, bam, 40 seconds just gone.
Yeah, really high levels. Any of these is like just absolute run killer. And it's a shame that it's so far into the run, but most of them are fairly forgiving once you've got a little bit of practice behind them.
Yeah. Like it's I feel like this is the kind of game where learning what to do is harder than actually executing it. Yeah, like Taychek said, like difficult to learn but easy to master / get really good at.
Yeah, I mean, how long is like a casual playthrough, would you say?
Of chapter 7, like without any skips?
I mean, just like the whole game. Yeah, no level skips for like the whole game.
Shoutouts to Polister. I think on average, like for a blind run of this game, it would probably take between 2 to 3.5 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. Like it's not a game where you have to spend like grinding hours and hours just to beat levels. Like it's not that bad. There are checkpoints.
But once you know, you're going through a lot faster at that point.
Yeah. You might remember in the last episode of this awesome game reviews, it was mentioned that you could run up against walls to line yourself up with the floor for something. Well, we do that in this game too. You can line up against the ceiling there, fall against the floor to set yourself exactly right, like a 1 frame from the checkpoint. If you do that, you can buffer a jump to the left and like jump at the same time so that you jump over it. Like otherwise, you'd have to just like sort of freehand doing the checkpoint skip, which is really inconsistent and isn't really something you want to gamble with 40 seconds of time loss. So
There are a
nice.
number of other ones we found around it. So you can just throw a plane down, and you can use it to stand that because the actual hitbox for the checkpoint blocks, it's basically if you took the actual checkpoint flag and just laid it on its side, that's about where you have to hit it. So it's very wide but very, very low. So you can stand on a plane and just be able to just walk across it basically.
another
And you
really
also throw a
fast level
frog,
there.
walk on it. Yeah.
How many levels of this chapter aren't death warps?
7-1. 7-1 isn't. 7-2 is. 7-3 is. 7-4 technically doesn't have to be, but it is faster to death warp. 7-5 is death warp. 7-6 is no death warp. 7-7 is death warp. 7-8 is. Kind of want to spoil the others, but 7-9. 7-9 is. 7 finale 1 is not.
Depends on what route you take.
It depends on the route you take, yeah. The fastest isn't a death warp though, and finale 2 isn't a death warp either. So
Like well over half.
yeah, so 4, 5 if you do the slightly slower 7-4 aren't death warps.
I'm very happy for that extruder. Toasts in this game are very annoying. Actually, using a cat to our advantage there.
Cool.
The way you're meant to do it is you're meant to go and stand on that block, stand on that button up there, and it will release, and it'll turn off all the green blocks. And at that point, it'll drop a boulder down, which you're meant to get off the green block, which will turn all of them back on. You're then meant to go and throw the boulder onto another green button, But it turns out it's much, much easier and much faster to let a cat do all the work.
I hadn't really seen
Oh,
that
if-
uppercut before.
Yeah, I think that's the only place where it's actually used.
Yes, I think it is. I can't think of any other time.
So this is probably the most stressful point in the entire run for me. If you remember, there were portals earlier that I mentioned they all have random outputs. Well, it turns out it's actually like 4 or 5 seconds faster, and actually it's probably more than that, it's like 10 seconds faster to gamble with these portals at the end and hope you get a good exit. It's like you have to worry about all these rocks going in random places. It's really a huge mess. Everything sucks. But I managed to get by only losing 5 seconds there.
And then even you have the rocks all behaving, you used to have a bunch of random portals you can go through, which can send you only 3 or 4 in next to the exit. I think it's 4.
It's 3. There's like 1 to the right of it, 1 in the middle, 1 on the left. Is it? I'm actually not sure. I just know that they all are terrible.
I think it might only be 3 actually, yeah, I think you're right. I know there's one where you have to do the crouch and spam jump.
Yeah.
And I thought there were 2 just in the middle. I thought there were 2 in the middle where you can just jump straight up, collect the gems and hit the exit. I thought there was 1 more on the right, but I'm not sure if there is that final one underneath the overhang.
I admire your tenacity. Truly I do. For show. But things have really gotten out of control.
Oh, by the way, nobody knows what makes the famous meter, Phil. I think.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, no one's really collected any concrete evidence on that.
Haven't you filled it up? I don't know if I've noticed you fill it up every time.
Yeah, it has. So how did the game routing progress over time? It's been pretty standard. Like the game's like built in ILs, as you can pretty much tell. Every level has its own route. Mainly the routing has been through implementation of new techniques. Like when the airplane skip was found, airplane duplication was found, that resulted in a few new skips. I think that was all the way back in 2016.
It might have been
recently,
a while back.
Yeah, like that 7-2 skip where I threw a plane into the ceiling into that small gap. That was found. I think it was just the setup that was found, because for a long time it was considered completely random, because after you throw an airplane, it floats all over the place. So that wasn't really considered RTA viable until it was discovered that it was actually consistent if you threw it against the ceiling.
I think that was 2017 as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mostly just been player skill has improved, so we've been able to incorporate newer and more difficult strats.
There's another intentional death warp. If you hit the checkpoint just next to that teleporter and then go through, and then skip the checkpoint just next to that rock in the top left corner, you can drop it down onto the button, death warp back, and then when he went through, he also threw a force ball, which turned around the saw, because otherwise you'd have had to wait for the saw to come all the way towards the wall that he teleported down into, and then he would go back.
That was actually a skip right there, using the slowed fall speed with the spike attack. It's probably the easiest skip in a game, if you could even call it that.
It is fairly easy. Unless you start it way too early, you're unlikely to miss it. You can't really start it too late. I suppose you can, actually.
Yeah. Last secret exit in the game right here. There is one secret per chapter.
It is a fun secret, though.
Yeah, it's the only auto level in the game.
And you still found a way to make it faster. But that's a story for all levels. don't think much of the writing actually changed.
I know that the level
paycheck
we're on
strat
right
here?
now has changed a bit. Paycheck, please. I'm not actually sure why that killed me. I know why that killed me though.
Did you get this before Taychuk found his strat?
No, I think I chose not to go for it because I didn't fully understand it at the time. There's also a new skip at the ending. It was found that you don't actually need to pull this block. You can just slide under the saws with a pretty precise positioning.
Yeah, and it's not even that you can only do it once every. It's only you can do it from every starting position of the saws.
Yeah. Oh, and just like weapon has a cooldown, the sliding also has a cooldown, so that's why I died the first time.
Oh. Okay.
What do you thought about? Is it faster to sort of walk, jump, slide? I know you've looked into
Like in what
the
context?
original time. Sort of, is it faster to walk with sliding? Is it not?
Oh, like just on normal ground?
Yeah.
Doing a slide in like a straight walking line will eventually lose you 7 frames, if I remember. So it only saves time to slide onto an exit or into a portal or into a breakable block or something. But sliding on Goop,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So 85, Game Guy ended up picking up 5 gems in there. That's one that's really, really hard to scoop gems. It is possible to get to the exit with less than 3 gems, but you have to be really going out of your way to skip those gems.
Less than 3.
Yeah. Yeah, Extruder, I've gotten a little bit silent at this point. Just like marveling a little bit. Trying to keep
There's
up.
a way to watch my run. It's very slow.
Yeah, that boost right there.
fun for all the
Storm found
family.
that. I am obligated to tell this. But yeah, Chapter 8 is like by far the most execution heavy. Like there's a ton of stuff going on. Like not just execution, but also reading all the random patterns you get. Because like depending on what that was a bad read. Like depending on what lasers, what saw cycles you get, you'll have to like choose between a number of different strats. Yeah, I think this was the worst level in the entire run.
So you're waiting for the cycle.
Yeah.
This is the level where you can. Okay, you skip the checkpoint. I'm gonna guess you don't die here, because otherwise you'd have to reset the level.
Yeah.
And it'd be
See
fairly
how-
embarrassing if that was actually in the world record.
That would the rest of the run would have to be so much better for this to still have PB. But yeah, by pushing that block forward, it decreased the interval between the blocks turning on and off. So if I would have died at that point, I would have soft locked the stage.
So he wouldn't have gone back only 1 checkpoint. He would have gone back 2 because he just missed the checkpoint. Well, he didn't go out of his way to pick it up.
Yeah. They recently got a new keyboard that's really helped with getting 1 frame inputs.
Oh shit. Mechanical.
Highly, highly recommend Ducky Shine series. I am not sponsored, by the way.
What's it called? Ducky?
Yeah, Ducky. Of like the Shine series of keyboards. I got a Ducky Shine 6 with reds.
It is much better than your old keyboard. It was literally, I couldn't hear anything other than that when you were playing. I could wake up in the morning and I just hear tapping in my head. I'm like, Game Guy must be doing a run somewhere. It was so loud. I know there are a few more keyboard runners, I just couldn't name them off the top of my head.
I know Storm can run keyboard, but it chooses not to currently. This is one of my other favorite levels.
Oh, this book is so much fun.
Okay, shoot.
Were you scared it was about to go wrong for a second?
Yes.
Whoa. Nifty.
8-9 is really, really nice when it goes quickly.
But yeah, now we are going into the final 2 levels.
Oh man.
These have special music. So that room is just related to storyline stuff. So they wouldn't really spoil anything if you haven't seen the cutscenes.
Yeah.
Just remember that that big guy, he's the #1 dude.
I think I die once at the end of this.
Yeah, so he when he went down there, he used a force ball just to push the cat that was throwing toxic bubbles.
Oh.
Just to push him off his perch. Yeah, it's not big, but it's a nice little way to just make the next bit perfectly safe.
So great how you have to like put your hand in the water there. It's such a good detail.
Yeah. Okay, so that skip at the end is actually one of the few hitbox manipulations that we do. When you're running versus like standing against the wall, your hitbox size is different. So we use this to run into the wall, not run into it while we're in the air, so that we're slightly above, or like horizontally away from the wall when doing a wall jump, so we get a much smaller impact from the force ball. So we can do that to get a very tiny wall jump that doesn't smash us into the ceiling.
And so we finally made it back
Luckily,
to the
it went
boat
off
after a
well first
harrowing,
try.
exhausting
So many nuances
adventure.
like
I
that
bet
in
your
the
dogs
run.
are barking. I mean, let's face
Do you guys
it,
have
most
like
of that
a
ordeal was unpleasant
guide
to
of
the
like
point
all the
zogging
little
whole lot. But now it's time to
explanations of
relax
the
in
tech,
forbidden
or
moonlight
is it
of
just
yesterday's promises.
Nothing-
you just like kind of talk
and
to each
treat
other?
ourselves to a nice
Yeah,
big mug of
like
hot
I kind of
cocoa.
threw up
What do
a
you say,
tutorial
Hattie?
for 2 chapters,
Hattie
but
wasn't his
it's
normal
not as
jovial
up
self
to par as
anymore,
I'd like it to be.
Because like a lot of this is pretty specific.
He didn't even respond to hugs. Freaking hugs.
Yeah,
He
it's
loves
if anyone
hugs.
comes in and joins
Wasn't
the
moving.
Discord, we've got a link to it on
Wasn't
the
even blinking.
speedrun.com
Where's
forums.
he gone to?
Cool.
I think it's one of the sticky
Where?
threads. It should be one of the
Yeah, it
sticky
is.
threads at least. If you come in, you can come in, you can ask about any issues we're having. We're always happy to help.
Great run, great run. That was really fun to watch.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You were my Paddington.
And Bible Thump.
Never forget.
We were
We love you, Hattie.
to take your hand, but we're here now. You're the moon and we're your stars.
Oh god.
We're here for you as you fade into
The narrator is William Stamford, by the way.
the dark. I love you, Hattie. So your best friend's a vegetable now, blah, blah, blah. But you know what they say, when life gives you potatoes, you make potato salad. And I got just the recipe. Hit it! Buckle your pants, buckle your pants. Pull up your socks and dance.
Watermelon.
Buckle your pants, buckle your pants.
Every single one of the
Pants,
cutscenes in this
buckle
game
your
is just
pants.
nonsense.
Hey, I said dance.
They're glorious.
Buckle your pants.
So sad they're all
Buckle
skippable.
your pants. Ladies, buckle your pants. Gentlemen,
Yeah, when's you guys got cutscene percent?
buckle your pants or they might fall down.
Oh, I think Mips actually ran that once.
I ran that because I was doing a 100% weaponless run, and this is my very first one. I went, you know what? I can't be bothered. I just picked up every hat that came along my way. I went, you know what? We're gonna watch all the cutscenes as well. Law percent, baby. Woo!
Is there a speedrun tech associated with the choice of the raccoon hat?
We are convinced there is a tier list of heads. No one's done enough research into it, but we're convinced it exists.
It's like
Yeah, they
you
all
use
have
like
official
you
names.
use like the tail as like your visual cue for the spike jumps or something.
I used to actually.
Oh man,
But
there we go.
The game has, I think, well over 300 different heads, so all the runners have like their own. So you can pretty
Nice.
much instantly tell who's playing just by looking.
That's cute.
Yeah, the Steam version also has custom heads.
I like
Let's
that.
see.
I like that.
I'm a big fan of Spooky Onion.
Spooky onion hat.
I did as a joke for Halloween. I got a PB. I'm like, okay, guess it's actually quite a good hat.
What the fuck's going on?
Oh man.
Oh, I get it. Because of the yes. It
Good
all
stuff.
makes sense now.
But at least it all makes sense now.
Yep.
It all makes sense. Very good, very good. Well, that was fun stuff. That was fun stuff. And
Thanks for the opportunity.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for letting me come on commentate as well.
Yeah, you guys did a great job commentating. It was good. Should do it again.
We will. It'll be weaponless time to shine soon.
Oh no.
Oh no, not like this.
Yeah, that was good. And what the hell? Why haven't I played BattleBlock Theater yet? So I'm gonna have to try to get that done, taken care of. Cause
Yo, nice.
what the hell, man?
Yeah, it is really good fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because one of my buddies actually gifted it to me on Steam. He probably noticed I didn't have it. He's like, "What the hell?" So that'll be what I do. And yeah, hope if anyone else hasn't played this game yet, you gotta check it out. And that was just fun to watch. And yeah, a lot of like little, like I was just commenting. Yeah, a lot of little things that kind of went into the run and. Seemed like there was a decent bit of creativity. I mean, kind of like figuring out some of the solutions from the onset of the speedrun. But now that you have the route, it's kind of like, it seems like you have it all set in stone, but it seems like there's a lot of different solutions in the stages. If you were to play casually, maybe,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Like
people
there's
figure
so
it out
many
one way and
different
another
routes.
way
yeah.
and whatnot. So I like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even weaponless is a bunch of really dumb spike jumps. There's like
Yeah, like even without using weapons, there's still like a plethora of different strats you can do.
Do they, is that like a mode or is that just self-imposed weaponless?
self-imposed. Normally we put the vacuum on because we go through and there's no way to actually debind the weapon button because it's the same button to also throw the rock. And
Weaponless.
if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do a level without weapons, if you're gonna do the whole game without weapons, chances are you are going to need to do a rock puzzle at some point.
Yeah.
So we just put on the weapon that we think would give it the least effect, and then basically you are allowed an accidental weapon press as long as it's clear it was an accident. So it's like if you jump and try to grab a rock and throw it, but you accidentally miss and you just pull out the weapon for a frame or two, we'll go, okay, that's fair enough. We know that wasn't meant to happen.
Right, yeah.
As long as you don't gain any sort of advantage by it, it's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I kind of like some experience with that because I ran like low percent categories before, and it's like, well,
Oh yeah.
you grab this bomb, but if you don't use it, is it still valid, or should you have actually avoided that bomb altogether? And
Yeah, would you
that
like
type of
accept
thing.
time loss for something out of your control that doesn't technically break the rules?
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna wrap it up, but yeah, this is really cool. And how active is the scene? Sounds like you guys got a pretty good community over there.
This past year, we actually saw the top 5 and 80% of level skips. They all have sub-hour 120 minutes. So, yeah, this year's seen a ton of progress.
Very cool.
Right now, it's like in a bit of a down, but like,
Just
still
quite low.
It happens. Definitely happens, even if it's a great game.
I'm sure it'll pick back up.
Cool stuff. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks again, guys, and till next time on Awesome Game Replays. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and see you on Xbox Live Gold.
Thank you very much for having us.
That's all I could come up with. Yep. Peace out, everyone.
Fun fact about 0.5 A presses. Game Guys actually started to try and route the first few chapters doing it without A presses at all.
Oh, no.
It's been disastrous so far. But I think we've got the first 3 stages down.
Yeah.
Okay, we're off.